ultra processed food is the new tobacco, period. It's addictive. It causes serious health consequences. It's ubiquitous. It needs to be regulated, legislated, and addressed. I'm working on this in Washington, but it's a whole nother conversation. But we're trying to get food labeling to be clear so people know what they're eating. We're getting, various initiatives that help us to kind of reduce our ignorance, I would say, about the dangers of these foods. So these are foods that have high amounts of refined sugars and flour. They are full of deconstructed ingredients from raw materials like soy, corn, and wheat that are broken down into their separate molecular structures. They're reassembled into science projects that may look like food, but are actually not food by the definition of food. If you look it up in the dictionary, which is something that supports the growth and development of an organism, which certainly these don't. They do the opposite. These ingredients that are in these foods do a number of things. One, they flood the bloodstream with sugar, whether it's from bread or from actual sugar. Below the neck, your body can't tell the difference between a bowl of sugar and a bowl of cornflakes, right? So this overwhelms the mitochondria because they're trying to process all that sugar and trying to convert to energy. And that leads to the excess production of reactive oxygen species. Now, if you're eating foods with lots of antioxidants, you kind of balance the whole thing out. But if you're eating just basically processed science projects, they require a lot to process and they produce more exhaust, which basically is the reactive oxygen species. So when you eat food, calories, energy, and you breathe, you combust it. And a number of things happen. One, it goes down in assembly line to produce ATP, which is good. Second, it produces carbon dioxide as a byproduct, which you breathe out. Third, it produces water, which you need and you pee out. But fourth, and this is the problem, is that it produces reactive oxygen species. In other words, it produces these free radicals as a normal consequence. But when we don't have the right food, we're producing too many of these, and our own bodies can't mitigate the effects. And often nutrient deficiencies like zinc or manganese and other nutrients are really important, or selenium, for regulating our reactive oxygen species through various enzymes like SOD and catalase and glutathione peroxidase. These are all enzymes that are antioxidant enzymes that are producing these really beneficial antioxidant systems. But we become dysfunctional in these systems because we don't have enough of the nutrients. And what happens when you have too much of these reactive oxygen species or free radicals, they basically damage the mitochondria itself. They damage the power plant and they reduce their ability to produce energy efficiently. So it's kind of a vicious cycle. Now, when you look at the research, it shows that fructose directly inhibits mitochondrial enzymes involving making ATP. Doesn't mean you don't eat fruit. It means you eat fruit as a whole fruit, not as fruit juice or high fructose corn syrup. And fructose is extremely damaging to the mitochondria when it's consumed by itself. Now, the oxidative stress produced by our mitochondria damages them even more, creates a vicious cycle. So it's like a chain reaction. It's really like a hydrogen bomb. It's like a chain reaction. And that's what happens with free radicals. It just creates a wildfire spread of oxidative stress throughout your body. And when you eat ultra-processed foods, in addition, they create inflammation and they lead to insulin resistance. And that actually is really a challenge, because when you have sugar and refined carbs all day, our cells become less responsive to insulin. The pancreas produces more insulin, helps the blood sugar enter the cells. But over time, that leads to this problem called insulin resistance and high insulin levels. Now, mitochondria in insulin resistant cells have less glucose to convert to energy and more glucose floating around the bloodstream. So that makes us feel tired from basically a lack of ATP being produced. And all that excess sugar that can't get inside our cells is converted into triglycerides by the liver. And then the increase in triglyceride levels in the blood, which is seen in metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, they all increase heart disease risk. That extra calories is stored as fat because mitochondrial dysfunction makes them less metabolically flexible. So actually, when you eat sugar, it causes a damage to your ability to turn food into energy. So you get less energy and you're more tired and your mitochondria become less effective. And it's this vicious cycle of the sugar causing more metabolic dysfunction, which causes more trouble regulating sugar, which causes more insulin resistance, which causes more mitochondrial dysfunction. And you get this vicious cycle. So the key to our health is metabolic flexibility. And that's our ability to switch from burning carbs to burning fat for energy. So not only are we not burning as many carbs, but we aren't able to switch to burning fat efficiently, leading to a low energy state. And then switching to fatty acid oxidation, which is burning fat for more energy, actually can create more oxidative stress and more mitochondrial damage. So that leads to a vicious cycle. And a high sugar diet basically leads to a high blood sugar, which creates oxidative stress that damages our mitochondria, that causes insulin resistance, that lowers our energy output. It's a vicious cycle, and that makes us have more cravings for energy-dense food, like ultra-processed foods that are loaded with starch and sugar, and lots of inflammatory fats like trans fat, omega-6 seed oils, and more. And the ultra-processed foods are also low in really important nutrients that are necessary to protect our mitochondria, like the right protein, fiber, vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, and antioxidants that our mitochondria need to function optimally. It's kind of like running a power plant without proper maintenance, which is the antioxidant repair, and without fuel.